All right, Joy, you're going to tell us about your experiences in the convent school. But first of all, tell us where we are and what the date is.
Okay, we are in Oregon House, at our house, actually at the chicken's house,
Yes,
and
that's the chickens in the background.
it's March 24th, 2014, and I'm going to talk about the year that I spent in a convent school when I was in England. I think I've mentioned in other talks before that when I was, just before I turned 5, my mother was diagnosed with tuberculosis and had to go away to a sanatorium for a year. And so my aunt came over from England and basically to visit for a bit, to help my father, and then to take me back to England with her. And in retrospect, it must have been kind of a big deal for her because she had a very high position. She was assistant matron at the Corbett Hospital in Stourbridge, and so it probably wasn't real easy for her to take off for a month or so and come and get her little niece. But anyway, she did do that. Just before I was 5, I had my 5th birthday in Shanks Village, and then my aunt and I sailed on the Coronia to England, and I lived with her for a year while my mom was in the sanatorium. Anyway, so that's all background, and what transpired was that I had to, because she worked full-time, I had to go to school, to a school that was going to last all day long, so that I would be in care all day long. And so I was sent to a convent school in Kidderminster in Stourbridge, and it was a big school. It was a girls' school, and I remember that 2 other girls, much older girls, I think they were teenagers, also went to school, and they were like in the same area, so my aunt arranged for me to ride the bus with them to school. I remember we had to change buses twice, so it would have been a bit much for a 5-year-old to handle, I think. Anyway.
Are they school buses or were they like public transportation?
They were public transportation, yeah. And uniforms were mandatory. As I recall, it was a navy blue skirt and a navy blue beret and a blue top, and I had to wear a striped tie. It was burgundy and navy blue striped tie.
That's pretty cool.
To school every day. And anyway, so I went to school, and the school was taught by nuns. The classes, I'm thinking the classes were probably about 20, 25, and we got there early in the morning, and I know that we had lunch there for sure. I'm not sure if we had breakfast there or not, but there were a number of different supplies that we had to have, and I remember my aunt made me I guess you'd call it a kit bag, and it had my name on it, and I know I had to have soap and a toothbrush and a washcloth and things like that. It hung up in the washroom on a hook for me, and other girls had the same thing. Anyway, the nuns were extremely strict. They had some very definite ideas about discipline and what kids should do and would not do. And I remember one time when I was there, I guess I was talking in the back row, and the nun called me up to the front of the class and had me put my hands out like this, and she smacked my hands with a ruler, and then she had me turn them over and smack the other side with a ruler, and it hurt. I still remember how much that hurt. But I didn't talk much after that in class, so yes. One thing I remember very clearly about the school is that, as I said, the nuns were really big on discipline, and at one time, for whatever reason, all the girls in the school, and it was a big school, were all assembled in an auditorium for something. I don't remember what it was for. And it was the youngest were in the front, right the way up to the oldest were in the very back, and the girls were all assembled, and they were chattering and talking and so forth. And the Mother Superior, I'll never forget, she came in the door, and she was this very imposing figure, and she said one word. She said, "Silence," and it was absolute silence immediately. I mean, immediately. It was you could have heard a pin drop. It was just, never seen that kind of control before in my life, or since. So, anyway, that was one of my memories. And just other little things. I remember that there was a playground, a big playground, and we would go out and we'd play organized games and so forth. And I remember, I had a little satchel I had to take every day. It had my name on it, a little leather satchel, and I still have that. I remember I had copybooks, and I had to do a certain amount. I remember I was 5, so it was equivalent of kindergarten, but we were doing cursive already. I mean, I was writing things out and like that. So it was probably fairly advanced compared to schools in America at the time.
I was going to ask you, think you got a good education there, or
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So.
probably better than you would have gotten in the States? Or
Well, my education in the States was, I was going in a different school every year, so some were good and some were bad and some were in between, and,
yeah.
So. But I'm trying to think what else. I remember one time I wore braids. I had braids down to here, and I remember one time one of my braids came loose, and so one of the nuns braided my hair up again, and I remember thinking, she didn't do it as well. It was too loose, whereas Auntie Olive always did them real tight, so it came loose again. But it's funny the things that you remember. So. Trying to think if I have any other memories of the school. I think that's about it for the convent school.
All right.
So I was there for a year. Somewhere I've got like report cards, or I'll have to take a look at it and see what.
Do you remember the name of the school?
No, I just remember it was in Kidderminster. I think it was Kidderminster Girls' School, but I could be completely wrong.
All right. And these are the noisy chickens in the background. Hello, noisy chickens. Andalusians. Andalusians, and what are the reds? New Hampshire Reds, which are the red chickens there. And an Andalusian in the front. The Reds, they're good layers.